This is Cool by the Pool, but because it's a little windy today and a little rainy, we're calling it Stars by the Bar. You like that?
We're meeting all over the place, Sandy. We've been in the mountains of California, and we've been all different kind of places, but here we are now in Mallorca.
Isn't it amazing? I saw you in Portland recently, and we go way back. This is Bob James.
Sandy, great to see you, and great to be on your program.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Bob's performance this morning, I referred to it on my Facebook page as the Jazz Church. It was absolutely stunning.
Wow. I don't know whether I deserve the purity of being in the church, but I love the gospel, and maybe we were preaching it this morning.
It really hit, I think it hit us all on a very spiritual place. This music does really lift you up, it moves you. And it was a Sunday morning. It felt so good today. Thank you very much for that. With your trio, I think it can be more intimate too, don't you?
Very much so, and it was good to have the audience be in the light. So normally I'm playing at night in a dark theater where I can only kind of imagine who the people are that I play for. But I looked out on our first song and I got confidence all of a sudden because everyone was smiling, and that made me feel very relaxed and happy.
The applause was as long as one of your songs, actually, after your first one.
Oh, yeah. It kind of didn't stop. I wanted to announce something, but I was enjoying the moment, so I let it linger for a little bit.
Absolutely. It says something about an individual who can let all that love in. It's not always easy, is it?
No, but really it's our job. I mean, we are communicators, and at least that's what I feel. I think music doesn't really become real until it's been listened to and hopefully appreciated.
The trio, you referred to it today as your favorite way to make music because of is it because of the intimacy and breaks it down a little bit?
The way I was trying to describe it was that being a pianist, that this is the classic jazz instrumentation for a pianist, to have the rhythm section backing you up, but the piano has to carry the ball. The piano is the orchestra, the piano is the melodic instrument and the harmonic instrument and the rhythmic instrument. It's all a lot of responsibility that I sometimes am removed from. If I'm playing in a four-play group, we always talk about the fact that each of us only have 25% of the responsibility. So if I'm concentrating on being out front 25% of the time, I still have the other 75% where I can relax more, or I can be an accompanist or a support person. And I've done so much of that in that role with a quartet or more larger ensemble, that when I'm back to the basic jazz trio setting, a lot more work, but also a lot more fun, a lot more opportunity to try to do what I love the most, what I have the most passion for, is playing the piano.
Absolutely. Today was just so rich, and it was deep, but it was melodic, and people could connect on a heart level as well as the head. I think that's really ultimately it, isn't it? That's kind of the target, to get them to feel and to think a bit.
Sure, of course, we always hope for it. I think maybe more and more in recent years, when people are experiencing music in so many different ways, some of which are almost anonymous, because they could go on Spotify or Pandora or whatever and just have the music come flowing in at them in an almost wallpaper kind of way. And it's that much more responsibility for those of us who think of music in a very personal way to get out there in front of the public and try to give them the best of our art. In my case, I try to every day. It's what I love to do the most, and if I can come with the best that I've got, if I practice enough, or if I prepared enough, and if we have the right set list or whatever, then I can come away from that saying, gee, we did a good job today.
Yeah. You know what I love about you, Bob, is that you are a master in this this world of music. And yet I know you well enough, and I've seen you so many times in so many different configurations that you get excited about each set, each song, and each artist you play with, and you're open to mixing and matching really all the time, aren't you?
Oh, I love it. I just do. It's my highlight of my day. I felt it today. I don't know how many performances over many years, but it's always a highlight of my day. When this may sound weird or may sound too, I don't know what it sounds like, other than the fact that when my fingers hit the piano keys, the first note of the first song, it changes my metabolism, it changes my energy level, and I'm starting out on an adventure. And more and more I can feel interaction with an audience. And I love, of course we love applause, we all love applause. And we hate boos. I hope I don't, no, I like boos.
We'll take a moment and let Bob have a seat. Go on, Bob. You heard me. Come on.
I couldn't resist that part. I'm sorry. But yes, I love what I do.
You do, and I like to say, have a sip. I'm going to do a little preaching. I talk to a lot of new artists all the time. That's what we do at smoothjazz.com. We're always giving artists an opportunity to be played if their music, has reached that place, and then they want advice or they want input. And honestly, and I mean this truly from my heart, watch Bob, watch his career, watch him play, and that enthusiasm and that passion. It's a master class in what this art form is about, in my opinion. Rant over.
Wow. And I didn't pay her for that. I think I should. I'm going to buy you some booze after this.
I like booze.
Actually, this is a promo because in my set today, I played several songs from a new album project that's not out yet. The album was going to be called Espresso. And I played a song called Bulgogi, which is a Korean dish. And I played another song called Il Bokalon, which is named after a restaurant. But I had to get a adult beverage drink into the day some kind of way, because another song on my new album is called Mojito Ride. So I'm having a mojito.
Show the camera too after you. Yeah, hold that up there. That, my friends, is what they make here at the Pro Tour Biomar Grand Hotel and Spa in Mallorca, Spain. Yeah, it's the secret is lots and lots of ice and muddled mint.
And a lot of wine too. Yeah, definitely mint. I love mint.
Yes. And a load of booze.
Unusual in the afternoon.
I was walking by the merchandise booth coming out here today, and I saw some classic CDs on that table. I saw Touchdown, and I stopped, and a lot of your albums are out on CD at the merch booth right now for those who haven't seen it and want to pick it up. But I stopped for a minute to look at the album cover, the football. You all remember Touchdown? The album with the football? I remember I was a young girl, my father had this album, and it was an album, it was vinyl, and it was one of many of yours, and I remember just staring at it for the longest time as a kid. I didn't really know what jazz was entirely, or instrumental music. I was into pop, and I remember seeing this album, and I remember hearing the music in the background, and really being moved by it at such a young age. And then for me, I know you hear this probably a lot from people, but what an experience to have you, and Bob, you are very youthful still. You've made so much music for so long now, and touched so many people's lives. That just must feel so good to be Bob James.
I do feel good to still be doing it. And I feel like I got my health, and I'm able to get amazing, great musicians that want to play and want to interact with me. And when I come to Mallorca and see that we're at a festival that has nurtured a wonderful, loyal audience, that if we do our job, we have a good chance that we're going to entertain them and give them something to take back home with them.
Absolutely, and here's to another 40 years for you, Bob. I want to talk about the new record, because, this is what we do, right? Where our art is about what's coming next. We respect the catalog, we respect the classics, but really, the excitement is in the new music, isn't it?
Very much so for me. And it's an unusual experience that I can remember even with the Foreplay group, we felt it was a little bit dangerous to bring new stuff out that our audience hadn't heard yet, that they weren't familiar with, that they may not recognize it. So we would, as a general rule, we would only include 1 or 2 songs from a new project, even after the record had been released, because there was an expectation that we would be playing things that were more familiar to our audience. So today, I was very brave, and we played 4 songs from an album that's not even out yet. And I really had a great warm feeling that at the end of me playing those new songs, the audience was still smiling. So I was very happy about that.
Definitely. So the new album will be called Espresso?
Yes, I have largest, some of my friends know that I have a pretty big espresso cup collection that covers the entire wall of my studio. In fact, this wall used to be filled with LPs, and I had thousands of LPs, and it was kind of fun to show it off on the wall of my studio, but it was taking up so much space. So little by little, my LPs have been converted over to the garage so that I have enough space to put my espresso cup collection.
I love it. I have a few espresso cups, but somehow they go missing at some of the nicer restaurants around Europe, and they just sort of. We shouldn't confess that, because they're going to be looking at us.
Well, no, and I have stopped doing it. I'm much too honest. I felt guilty when I was doing it. So I send signals out to my friends that I wouldn't mind it if you slipped one of those cups into your pocket and you're not giving it to me. So that's, yeah. Also, if anybody's interested in it, I get requests every now and then for sheet music from our compositions, and I don't have any kind of organized publishing thing now, and the sheet music publishing is such a weird phenomenon that people expect that they can buy sheet music for $5 or something like that, which it wouldn't even be worth it for me to start up a sheet music business, because how am I going to really end up making a profit by the time you print it and put some pictures on the cover or whatever? So the few times that people have asked me about sheet music, I let them know that I have an espresso cup collection, and then instead of paying me for the sheet music, I'll make a little bartering trade, and that if you find something really unusual, that I'll give you my address and you can send it to me. Well, it's worked out fantastically well. I had just very, very recently, I think this gentleman was maybe from England, but I've forgotten the address to which I had given him, but he responded by sending this set of 6 espresso cups that were antiques. They were from earlier era of Starbucks, and they had the names of exotic cities on them and everything else. Very, very interesting, rare collection. And he'd only asked for 2 songs of mine. So I told him, gee, I owe you at least 4 more songs, because I got 6 cups out of the deal. But he was very happy to have his 2 songs. And so any of you out there that are interested in sheet music, send me a cup.
You created your own currency, is what you've done. Sheet music currency. I love it. Well, you're going to need to connect with Marcus Anderson, because he has his own line of coffee now.
Oh, he told me. Yeah. He didn't share any of it with me, but he did tell me that.
Me neither. What's that about? Bob, I need to ask. People are asking, so I would like to hear from you. What is going on with Foreplay? Will there be another album and tour down the road?
Well, of course, most of the people who are aware of our Foreplay group know that our great guitarist and great friend Chuck Lowell passed away last year. And it was a very, very big blow for us. Chuck had brought an amazing artistry and friendship, leadership, team spirit to the group that is not only a great legacy, but it's very difficult to figure out what to do next after that happened to us. So Harvey Mason and Nathan East and I have had many conversations about it. And our strategy so far, first of all, we love and value the fact that we have developed a great group of fans and friends over 26 years of doing this group, and we have no intention of giving that up. We take the responsibility of the brand name of the four-play group very seriously, but even in our history, we've always been a sort of part-time group in the sense that we all wanted to maintain our solo artists' careers. So in this case, having just made an album called Silver, which celebrated our 25th anniversary, it was a little bit time to take a hiatus anyway. We've averaged only one record every couple of years, and in between have pursued our separate projects. So our rough strategy right now is to take a little hiatus, not rush into something new until we're really ready to make a commitment. And in the meantime, in my case, I'm concentrating on my trio project, which I've been wanting to do for over 10 years. And that's where I'm at.
No, that's great. That's good. So we'll look for Espresso in 2019, or will it be a little bit later this year?
Espresso? It's going to be hopefully maybe as early as July.
This summer.
We're done with it. I've already mocked up the cover with a cup. It's actually a romantic espresso cup because it's two cups on one saucer in the shape of hearts, and they kind of interlock in a romantic kind of way.
That's very cool.
Hopefully that's going to be the cover. We haven't totally settled on it yet.
I like it. You want to tell us a little bit about your trio, because I think before I let you go, I want to know about your bass player, because that guy was unbelievable, and your drummer, Patrick.
Sure. Well, starting with the bass player, Michael Palazzolo, I found him, and I guess in some ways I could say that I discovered him, that at that time he was a pretty well-kept secret, living in Windsor, Ontario, in Canada, but doing a lot of playing in Detroit, Michigan. And Detroit has the amazing history of so many musicians coming out of that city, and so many of the people that have played in my bands over the years, Dave McMurray, Perry Hughes, Ron Otis, Al Turner, on and on and on, that I've used in my band. So I heard Michael play, and the nature of my solo career is that it's been off and on so much that I've never been able to say that I had a permanent band, because I don't offer them enough work. And all the good players are going to find other jobs. So I have to take them while I can get them. And in this case, I knew that Michael was just starting out on his career, and it was a wonderful opportunity for me to give him experience, to get him to go to different places. And I don't think he'd be mad at me if I told him the first time I took him to the airport, he was asking me where baggage claim was. He couldn't figure out where it was. So I knew I had a young green guy that I was going to be teaching him the ropes. And now we're about 2 years into it, really loving playing in different parts of the world. And I am totally loving how the audiences respond to his pure, fresh, real talent. He looks very visible and demonstrative when he plays, but I can guarantee you his mind is totally into the music, and it's just inspiring for me every day to play with him.
It was wonderful to watch him. He's very emotional in a way, what he expresses. The bass is an extension of him. It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely, and the audience gets it. He's well, going back to the era of jazz that Miles Davis was sort of the ultimate representative, in which this purist, straight-ahead jazz artist felt the audience was somehow in a different planet and they were in their own world. And you would see so many performers never smile, never relate to the audience. And course, in the smooth jazz world, it's almost the opposite of that. And in the case of Michael, he's just being himself. He's just being natural. He loves the bass. He loves what he does, and you can tell it. And I can see that the audience feels it, and they feel that they're part of it. They feel that they're on this adventure with him.
And your drummer, Patrick Williams?
Patrick just played his first show with me. Well, actually, I did one show with him down in Texas. He lives down in Houston. And my friend Chris Walker, who played with me on the Joined at the Hip album that I did with Kirk Whalum, great bassist, singer, or whatever, Chris, introduced me to Patrick Williams. And the one time I heard him in that setting down there, I loved his playing, and immediately went back to my manager, Sonny Abelardo, and said, we got to put this guy on our list. And we never know when the right timing is going to come, where my guy who played on my new trio record, Billy Kilson, is also very, very, very busy and not always available. So lo and behold, the opportunity came up where I had this Europe tour, and we called Patrick, and he said yes. And I could share with you a little bit that it almost it went into a huge trauma right off the bat, because he arrived at the airport to discover that his passport was going to expire in June. Now, I would have made exactly the same mistake, because our tour was going to end up in early May, so no problem. But we didn't know the regulation that you have to have at least 3 months on your passport or you can't get into Europe. And so he was in danger of coming all the way over here and then sending him back home. So he scrambled and scrambled and used every connection he could come up with in Houston. And at the last minute, he got his passport, and we were all at the airport by that time, panicking about it. And he made it. So here he is. We just finished our second performance of this tour with Patrick, and I feel the same way about him. He has this natural enthusiasm about the way he plays, and of course, at the very basis of it, he's a great jazz player. I knew it for the first time I played with him, that he has what we call jazz chops, and it was just a matter of indoctrinating him into my repertoire and the way we play, and we're having fun. It's brand new with me and Patrick.
That's great, and you know how to pick a drummer, Bob. We know that. Only the best, for sure, in Harvey Mason's footsteps. I really enjoyed listening to him play with your trio today. He's a very colorful, expressive drummer. Lots of cool percussion, too. I was enjoying the different textures he was using.
Yeah, me too, and I think he's going to do more of that, because part of my job as the sort of trio conductor or the whatever is to encourage that. We go through a stage of, at first, we get solid with the material. We get certain kind of little cues and moments where it gets very ensemble, as opposed to the other moments where it's very free. Mm-hmm. And there are so many of those moments where Patrick will be able to completely open up and do his thing, and I want him to surprise me. I love it when he'll show up with something that I never heard before, and then I have to react to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the sport of it for you. Like, you like to hit back, volley back, look for that shot.
Yeah, it's a dialogue. It's not only a three-way dialogue. I would think of it as a four-way dialogue with Patrick, Michael, Bob, and the audience.
Yes.
And when the audience is joining us, hey, don't say too much. You might distract us. You might get away. But definitely the applause. And there's sometimes we have some people in the audience that love to hear the sound of their own voice. Hey, Bob! Whatever. And it's okay, but it might get a little bit distracting, and you better be doing it at the right moments, because if you just said that right after I made a mistake, it's going to make me uptight and more nervous about the next thing.
But we do like the reaction, though. I'm sure that today the warmth that everybody was expressing is what everybody was feeling, and I was in that room, and I tell you, I didn't want to leave afterwards. I felt like there were still some notes on the floor I should pick up and take with me. It's just lovely. As you can tell, I love this man. I know a lot of keyboardists, and I know they won't be offended when I say that Bob's my favorite pianist of all time, after my mom. Yeah, but there's you. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about that's coming up? We can ask a couple, take a couple of, let's let Rich ask a question. I'll give you the mic.
I'm led to believe that you're probably one of the most sampled artists in the history of music. Your thoughts on your music being introduced to a younger audience and a different audience against the fact that people have taken your music?
I still think I was a recipient of really good timing in jazz history, because the stuff that I heard and sampled, first of all, I have no idea why, and if there was any logic to it, I would have grabbed onto it a long time ago and become a hip-hop artist myself. But I don't have that potential. I don't get it. I don't know why, but I'm flattered. I love it. But there was a rhythm groove in jazz that changed in the early 1970s, gradually, with rock elements being added to it. And a kind of changeover from swing to more straight 16th, or however we would describe it as musicians. But it was a difference in the basic drum groove, and electric bass took over from the acoustic bass, so the bass lines were different. And that music that we were playing had a lot of it had a simple vamp style that I think was easy for rap producers to sample, because you could break it up into short chunks and loop it, and so I was lucky that some of my stuff got sampled early on and became part of a sort of like a Bible of a reference stuff that to my amazement, it was used over and over again. And now, finally, 25 or 30 years into the history of this genre, I finally wised up to the point where if they're sampling me, why can't I sample myself? So a lot of those early records that were sampled so much, I own them, which has been a really nice cottage industry thing, very nice actually. But on my new project, can you tell that I'm hyping my new project? Look for it, Espresso by the Bob James Trio, coming later this year. But on this new project, there is a song which is going to be called Submarine. It was co-written by me and my manager, Sonny Abelardo. And the reason why we called it Submarine is because I sampled my song Nautilus, which happens to be and I can do it. The only person I have to come to grant me a license is myself. I wrote the song and I own the audio from it, so we sampled it, and it goes back and forth with this new thing. So look for it on the new CD.
That's so cool. And you just send yourself a coffee cup, and everything's going to be fine. I listen to a lot of new music every week. You know, people send us stuff from all over the world, and I sent this to you. I didn't hear back. I'm not going to say it was an amazing piece of music, and I don't know the artist's name, but the song basically was about how he dumped his girlfriend because she didn't know who Bob James was. True, that is a true story. It's great. I loved it. Any other quick questions? Because Bob's got to go have another mojito and rest a bit. Anything?
Normally you play with a special piano, a modified piano. Are you comfortable when you just have it like today, a regular rented piano?
The question is that normally Bob plays with a modified piano, and he is asking if he was comfortable enough today with a regular piano.
You've been paying attention, thank you. And yes, I have played a wide variety of pianos. That's the nature of what we do, because you can't always have an ideal instrument, and I can't travel with my own grand piano around the world. I did in previous years sometimes go out on tour. We did a bus tour with Foreplay several times, in which we had a trailer hooked onto the back of a big tour bus, and the trailer had my piano on it. And at one point, we were going between Boston and New York, I think as I remember it, and the trailer hitch broke. And the bus kept going, and the piano went off into the ditch, and there was a long story. No, he's definitely not. Actually, he ended up buying that piano, right? Or you sold it to another friend. So, trying to give you a shorter version, primarily with the four-plate group, I have ended up playing a Yamaha disc collector on the road most of the time when I can get it in certain cities, because not only does it function as a conventional grand piano, but also as MIDI. And so that I can interface with different synthesizers. I normally used a Yamaha Motif synthesizer, and then I have it set up so that there's a volume pedal, so I don't ever have to leave. All my playing can still stay on the acoustic piano, but gradually I can bring in some string sounds or pads or brass or electric piano or that kind of thing. Because although I've done a little bit of it, I'm most of the time not comfortable with having multiple stacked keyboards on the stage where my hands have to fly around. Today, I went back and forth a little bit with the Fender Rhodes, which we had for fun, but I like focusing and concentrating on the piano. And the disc here with the MIDI capability gives me additional colors, sort of orchestration that's really more appropriate for the four-plate group than it is my trio. When in my trio, my mind is on how can I make the sounds and the dynamics from the piano itself, so that the piano is the sound of the music.
Thank you.
That was a great question, though. And I think it's good that the fact that there's not a lot of questions means that I did my job well. Don't you think? Bob, do you have any questions of me?
Yeah, how long are you going to keep doing this? Because I need you. I need you, baby.
Oh, hold on. I'm trying to stay in shape like you. I've got to be around a long time. I really appreciate everybody being here. Oh, you have one half? Okay. What question?
I'm going to get together again with his daughter.
Next week, actually. He's asking if I'm going to get together with my daughter, Hillary. And I can tell you, Hap, that every concert that I play, every time I go out to autograph table afterwards, I'm asked that same question. Hillary's life changed, and she didn't go full-time into the music business. She became more mom and provided me with my one and only granddaughter, Ava, who I love. First song I played today in my show was Ava La Bop, which I wrote for her. But Hillary's still very active singing, and I've only done a little bit with her. She's been involved with writing and composing and producing a children's project. She teaches elementary school, and in her job as a teacher, she has made it almost like the modern day Sesame Street. She writes all original songs that she has now expanded into a book and a CD project called Miss Hillary Please. And so she's very involved, and occasionally she hires me to play piano.
That's great. With coffee cups or?
No coffee.
Okay.
These are elementary school kids.
No, I mean, she hires you, though. Your daughter,
Oh, you mean paying me by coffee? Why didn't I think of that?
Hillary, if you're listening.
You should be my manager. I dumped this guy something.
Oh, come on, Sonny's the best. Okay, sir.
Just a quick one. Is foreplay going to free fall next year?
We were just discussing that before you got back, and the answer basically is that they're giving a little time for healing with Chuck, and yes, of course they love the brand, and they're all focusing on their own thing a little bit right now. Did I paraphrase that right? Okay, yeah, of course. That's a good question and a wonderful answer. I have absolutely loved this, and I'm thinking, because we can't keep going and going, I'm going to just start a new show called Breakfast with Bob James. What do you think?
Or lunch or dinner.
And we should do that once a month or something, huh? I've got lots of espresso cups. Look for the new album coming out this summer from Bob James, and of course you'll hear it on smoothjazz.com global. Thanks. On behalf of the Mallorca Smooth Jazz Festival, I'm Sandy Shore. This is Bob James. We're coming back with Althea Renee. I do hope she's still with us. We'll chat with her in a moment. Thanks for hanging out.